Hey everyone, it's Tuesday, June 28th, 2016. Dr. Fred DiDomenico with Elite Coaching. This is Chiropractic United podcast, video podcast. I don't know if video qualifies as podcast, but the partners I usually fly with: Joe Ferrantelli, gone. Dean Harrison, gone. However, we have an urgent condition that I feel everybody needs to hear, and I'm so honored and blessed to have the president of Life Chiropractic College West out here, Dr. Brian Kelly. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I know we've planned this for a while, and you got a really busy schedule, and thanks for taking the time to be here tonight.
Great to be with you, Dr. Fred, and looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, so obviously everybody knows you throughout the profession pretty much. Not everybody may know your story. So let's get an idea of the man behind the mission. You've done so much in the profession. If you could just kind of let us know what got you into chiropractic and what stirred your passion from the beginning.
Well, I was blessed to have an uncle who's a chiropractor, and he returned back to New Zealand in 1973, which is where I got this funny accent. And he said to my mum, he said, "Bring in the kids and let's get their spines checked." And she was like, "What? There's nothing wrong with their spines." And my health history was I had multiple courses or bouts of tonsillitis, lots of antibiotics, and, the general health was deteriorating. That old joke, we killed the patient, but we cured the disease. And finally, after about the 25th or 26th time of antibiotics, the doctor said to my mum, I think we need to take his tonsils out. And my mum said, "I don't think that's going to happen." It was just that right time that my uncle showed up. He got back on a ship from Davenport, Iowa. He became a chiropractor at Palmer. And we started growing up with this chiropractic stuff, and it was awesome, just awesome. Fell off skateboards, go to the chiropractor. Get colds and flus, go to the chiropractor. Have migraines, go to the chiropractor. But his story was always the same, and that was your body will always do better when you get adjusted. And that stuck with me when I'm lying in bed with a migraine, when I'm, in fact, I broke my neck falling off a horse once. Go to the chiropractor, my uncle, and he takes an x-ray and he goes, "Good. Today there's things we're going to do, and there's things we're not going to do. But your body will always do better after you get adjusted." So that's how I got into it. And I'm like nearly 16 years of age. And I thought, I was either going to be a politician, a social worker, or a chiropractor. And I loved what my uncle did. He was always a positive guy, always had great stories to tell about people who had come and seen him. He had a great life and lifestyle. And I'm like, I want to be like him. And so I decided just before the age of 16 to become a chiropractor.
How cool is that? It's that old school philosophy, man. We've been around for a while. And I remember going to a Gonstead guy when I was in school. I went to LACC. He throws up a picture of a guy with a broken, it was like a C6 or something. We're all students. He goes, "What would you do?" We're like, "Refer?" "No, you adjust him." Like that old school philosophy, like your uncle, man, you always adjust. What do? Adjust him. He's got a broken neck. Adjust him.
Well, funny you say that, because I've been in practice. I started my own practice, and I'd only been in practice a few short weeks. And a woman came in, and she was the wife of a president of a Pacific Island country, a small nation. And this is before MRI, and she had a CT scan, and she had this like radiculopathy in her hand, and pins and needles and numbness, and she was heading for surgery. So she came in, one of those sort of last resort stories, and she said, "Can you help?" And I'm like, holy shit. So I phoned my uncle and I go, "Oh my gosh, this woman's come in," told her the case history, and said she's got the CT scan, she's got this disc bulge in her neck, and she's heading for surgery. And I go, "What would you do?" And he goes, "Well, she's heading for surgery, you got nothing to lose." So we started adjusting her, and she didn't need the surgery.
Fascinating. Like, what a concept. It's like, don't think too much, just adjust, right? Yeah. That's so awesome. So obviously you had tremendous philosophy. By the way, your sound is kind of fading in and out. I don't know if maybe you can turn it up, or sometimes it fades in and out.
Okay.
But that's better. So, you're raised with that old school philosophy, man. It never leaves you. It's like that truth is in your spirit, and it seems to drive every action. So you're in there, you're in practice, you got strong philosophy. What's next on the timeline?
So then I wanted to see more people. So I went to practice. In fact, my 11 years of full-time practice, I always had a coach, 3 different coaches. And I figured great athletes have coaches, so hey, it worked for them. And then we hired an associate with a second chiropractor and a third chiropractor. Then we bought a second office. And things were growing, and I realized there was a limit to how many people I could see with my hands. So we had a solid practice. It was based on education. It made sense to people whether they were, unemployed or whether they were, an executive. And people came, they brought their families, and they stayed. And education was the key to our success. And then one day I get a phone call one day, and this guy goes, "We'd love you to join a board." He said, "It's a board of a college." And he said the three famous words, three famous things. And if someone says these to you, you never send them a Christmas card and you hang up the phone and you never call them friend again. It's like, yeah, join this board, not much time, not much money, and, it's not a big deal. But within 2 years, I became president of the New Zealand College of Chiropractic. Never on my list to be involved in education. The old joke at school that the only people involved in chiropractic education are those that didn't make it in practice. And little did I know the journey it would get me on. And it's been just an incredible journey, meeting some of the most amazing people. And one of the things that I enjoy is meeting young people and turning them on to becoming a chiropractor. And now I've seen hundreds and hundreds of those graduate and go out there and spread their wings. And that was the vision. The whole idea was, if we could help inspire people to get into it and then somehow in our little way shape what they were going to do, then within a short amount of time, I'd be adjusting millions of people with my mind, because I couldn't do that with my hands. So that was the sort of driving force behind it. And then 6 or 8 years later, after being at the New Zealand school, I get a call one day from Jerry Clum, and he said, I've loved doing this. I've been here 30 years. You go, it's time I do something new. He said, would you like to take over? And I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a hoax call. But now nearly 6 years have gone by. I've been in San Francisco and here at Life West.
Well, I'm going to back up a little bit, because, you're successful in practice, you're helping people. And then what was that like? I mean, I remember when I got into coaching where you realize, I won't be able to impact enough people. Like, did you hit a point? Was it the phone call? Were you feeling that in your body at all? Like, hey, this is great, but I feel like I'm being called to something bigger? Or was it just out of the blue, the phone call, and that's what initiated it? Were you having that thought or feeling already?
Yeah, and I did, and I didn't know what the thing was. So, some people build multi-clinics. That wasn't my thing. I found running one clinic took a lot of time and energy and care. And when there was a second practice or a satellite office, and some people have 2 and 5 and 10, that wasn't my thing. But somehow there was something speaking to me saying, hey, there's got to be something next. And I didn't know what that was. And then when this happened, it was never on my list of things. And we just spent a lot of money building a new office, like a lot of money. And it was beautiful. And we put in the latest x-rays, and we started to scale. We invested for a long. It's funny because in my last year of full-time practice, this was I don't even know. What in my last year? We'd spent $78,000 in staff training and seminars and coaching. Nice. That would have been a great investment if I'd have stayed.
Yeah, right.
But you just don't know. You just don't know. And so I think sometimes someone has a plan that no matter what goals you write down, you've got to be available to what comes along.
Right.
It's been a hell of a ride. But it was never on my sort of to-do list.
Yeah, one day you were thinking, God, there's got to be something more. The next day you're president of a college. Like, who would have guessed that?
Right.
I remember having that feeling, but nobody called me. Nobody called me from a school. But that's another story.
Maybe I'll call you one day.
Yeah, right. That's funny. So actually, you left out a pretty significant part, and that is New Zealand Chiropractic School wasn't doing that well. And they called you in, man. You were the savior, so to speak, because you pulled that school out.
Well, what inspired me about that was, I was a New Zealander living and practicing in Australia, but their vision, the founders of the school had got together over a number of years, and they said, imagine this. And at the time, I think New Zealand only had 4 million people. California has 38 million, but first world nation, in terms of technology and infrastructure. But, they said, imagine this, and they looked down the road of several decades, and they said if you had the right number of chiropractors, and they knew chiropractic, and they could communicate chiropractic, and they could practice chiropractic at the highest level, then they said, and they knew what the number of chiropractors was. They said within a short amount of time, I think it was like 3 decades, you could change the course of the country. And they were talking things like prison rates, teenage suicide, longevity, productivity at work, sick days, healthcare costs. And I'm like, this is pretty compelling. And that was enough for me to leave $1 million practice and go and do that. And the vision was clear enough. We just needed to build the infrastructure, and we went out and told the story. And it started with getting great faculty. And then we moved to hiring a research director who's now on the world stage. She was a rookie just finishing her PhD. That's been an incredible thing. And then we got accreditation, and then we moved to a new campus, and it was kind of fun. And I guess that was my apprenticeship to being over here in the US. And, that's been another exciting journey.
Well, I'd say that's a pretty good track record from, going from a school. I don't know the exact financial condition or enrollment when you took it, but I know it could have been a lot better. We'll put it that way. And you literally rebuilt the school.
Yeah. And it takes a team of people. People look at, a leader of a chiropractic school, but you have a board, and they're really like, I guess they're your boss, but they're the guiding light. They're really the ones who set the vision, and you work with them. And then you've got an administration team, and then you've got faculty, and then you've got people. And then you've got chiropractors on the sideline cheering, sending students, sending money. But someone's got to be out front, and you take the credit, you take the blame. And someone said one day, "What's your job like?" And I go, "You know what? I go, 5% of it's pretty glamorous. 5% is really nasty, like dealing with just yucky things. And 90%, you just get up, you go to work, you just do your thing." And but I look at it over time, as the months go by, the years go by, and now the decades go by. I look at the number of people who've become chiropractors and some of the fun things we've done. I go, yep, I can look back and say we've moved the needle.
Oh, yeah.
Chiropractic a little bit.
Well, and, when your purpose is that big, it's a hard job. I mean, when you took over Life West, obviously you can see why Jerry Clum chose you. I mean, what a great track record. And that was also a low point for Life West. As great of a school as it is, it was at a low point then. And, watching you go around the country, I mean, you literally left your family back home and you come over here by yourself. Most people, when you look at building a school, building a practice is like being on vacation. Yet so many people struggle building a practice. So is there any way you could put into words what that driving purpose feels like that makes you do something so extraordinary? For those people that I know it's tough to put into words.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has that inside them, everyone. And it may be that the thing that they're looking for is actually outside of chiropractic, or maybe the thing that they're looking for they haven't quite found in chiropractic. But when you start with your why, the universe kind of opens up. So, for example, I remember I was stuck in practice, early days, and we're like, we're at a certain volume, we want to get over that hump, and we're like, what do we do? And someone one day said, well, you need a coach. And we're like, oh, I don't know, can we afford it? We're at that sort of stage, and we're like, just jump in and see what happens. And you realize several things, and you'd appreciate this in your listeners. First, you're part of a tribe. So it's not just an association type meeting crowd, which is anything under chiropractic, but people with a common philosophy or practice management thing. And then you try some things and you go, oh, that's not for me. And then your coach will say, look, just do it for a month or 3 months and see what happens. And then you realize you can do that. So I guess it's about being uncomfortable, but wanting something better for the world, better for your family. And so, but it's got to be, well, not it's got to be, it is uncomfortable. And I think that's, yeah, I've had a few of those.
Well, uncomfortable, I would imagine, would be the understatement of the world. You know what I mean? A bit uncomfortable. That's a big comfort zone. If that's a bit uncomfortable, then you have a big comfort zone. We'll just say that. So now, hey, you come to Life West. I mean, I remember you traveling. I mean, you were, I don't even know how much time you even spent in your office, because you were out there so much in so many different places and stages, and giving the vision of what you wanted to create in Life West. And you've literally created a new upgraded school that literally is a leader in the profession.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I mean, we refer to it as Life West 2.0, but one of the reasons I came here, because there's two parts of the story. Firstly, every year for the last 10 or 11 years, they do an alumni satisfaction survey. And when I looked at it after the first 4 years, Life West consistently had the #1 alumni satisfaction. We're not the oldest school. We're not the largest. We don't have sports fields yet. But something was happening in the walls where people left here and their level of self-esteem about what a chiropractor was and who they were as a chiropractor, how well they did in practice, in most dimensions was better than or equal to any other chiropractic school. So I'm like, I just need to polish the diamond. But the reason we got into trouble, as did other chiropractic schools, as did Cleveland, LA, which closed down within 8 months of me arriving here, was, 15 years ago, there were something like 15,000 people studying chiropractic in the US. Within a short amount of time, that 15,000 dropped to 10,000. So we lost a third of people going to chiropractic school, and that number now has flatlined at 10,000. So some schools have declined. One went out of business. There's been a couple of new starters. Some are kind of bopping along, and we've grown, as have, I think, 2 other schools. We've grown significantly. In fact, we've doubled our enrollment. And it's like a practice. We put a lot of energy into it, number one. 2, we got very, very clear on what our vision was, and we just went to work. And I think in practice, there were days, Saturdays we'd get up and we'd go and do a spinal screening at a shopping centre. That's not what I wanted to do. But we'd meet someone and they'd say, they would never have gone to a chiropractor. They'd never crossed that threshold of going into your office. And we got to the end of a Saturday doing a spinal screening. This is like in the 90s. And we went, we introduced a few people to chiropractic today. We just plugged away doing that over a few years, and we built an army of patients, with the education program. And I think about that in the education setting. You just go out and tell the story, and there's nothing about, that old success. In fact, a friend of mine showed me a business card that said, if you want to be successful, ... and you turn the card over and it said, go to work. And so I think that's a metaphor for any type of endeavor in life. Whether you're an athlete, chiropractor, you want to build a great team, or in my case, building an institution.
Persistence. Well, and you know what? I mean, you just hit it. You got to have a great team. I know in our coaching group, that's number one, man, create an inspired team. So that says a lot about you. Like you said, they're looking for a guiding light. They found it in you. You have a compelling vision, and you have a compelling way to communicate it. And it's just in your beingness, man, that, purpose comes from your beingness, and it radiates out. And not only does that help you build a big school, a great school, but that's what it really takes to build a great practice. And what you really say is be consistent.
And then the why behind all of it, you go, so what? So what if you had a big clinic? So what if you had a big, so what? The so what to me is why I get out of bed is go to any elementary school in any suburb or city or town in this country or North America or most countries of the world, and just look at those 30 or 35 5-year-olds and ask yourself the question, how many of those kids are functioning anywhere near close to their potential? And of course, they're going to grow up and become teachers and doctors and lawyers and politicians, God forbid. And you just fast forward, 1 or 2 generations, and you go, okay, this is not good. And so that's the driving force behind what I do. And you put healthcare on top of that, or underneath that as a layer. Oh my God, that is a disaster. So we know people are now voting with their feet. But what we do is bigger than just getting sick people well or keeping them well. And you see that when you look. So you ask people on, a progress exam, you say, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. What have you noticed? That's where the gems come out. It's not that they're back on the sports field. It's not they're back to work. It's not that they can touch their toes. They're the ones who come out and say things like, I've noticed I don't need to wear my glasses when I'm watching TV. It's funny. I haven't been sick the last year since I've been coming here. My relationship's better with my family. That's where the gold is. And you're not going to get that with a prescription drug or having PT, because what we do is bigger than getting people back to zero. And that's why, because we've got the key to because we work with the nervous system, we've got the key to the door, the key to the kingdom.
Yeah, we do.
And so the irony is this, and I think that's why chiropractic education numbers decline. We got comfortable in the 80s and early 90s with the insurance model. You could have been relatively low skilled and you're still going to make a living or make a great living. Those days are over. They are over. And so you've got to know what you're selling. You've got to be able to communicate it, and you've got to be really, really good at it. And the marketplace is pretty tight with people who could take care of all those conditions. But when you offer them something that gets incredible results, is remarkably safe, and is very, very affordable, we can't lose. But not only that, we can really make a difference. And so it just comes down to how big is someone's purpose? Are they prepared to do the work? And the work could be building a team, because there's only so many people they can see, or they may be hitting resistance levels, or then being uncomfortable to want to take it further. But, in my practice career, this year I celebrate 25 years since I graduated. A lot of my friends have passed away. and they were either unhealthy or they had an accident or they died in a plane accident or something. We don't know how long we're going to be here, but while we're here, we've been given a gift, and we've got to go out and give it our best shot.
Well, the word I'm getting from your message, I think we would boil it down to one word, and that's a very inspirational message, is responsibility. Like you turn that purpose into responsibility. And that's what it is. Like you said, what bothered you was the kids. How many kids are out there, and the people that, I think chiropractic and you guys in Life West, obviously you have CBP as core curriculum, corrective chiropractic, the best application of the principle, in my opinion. Humanity needs that. They're starving for it, and they love the message. And now is the best time ever. I mean, and like what you said, not just because it's cheap and it's easy and all those things, because it's right. It's the truth. The principle is the truth, man. It's a universal law, right? People know when they hear that message, they're drawn to it.
And it's not easy. It's not easy to share that message in an allopathic world where someone, their whole life is heard on the TV. If you're sick, see the doctor, take a drug. So they come and see you and they say, I'm sick, I'll get a crack and I'll feel better. We're offering them a very different paradigm. And, there's all the compliance and regulatory stuff. It's hard work. But look at the payoff. You could change your community and make a difference. What other field, I guess it happens in acupuncture, but what other field you take care of someone and they've been unable to conceive, and they come in one day and say, guess what? We've been trying to get pregnant for 10 years. We've been coming to the office 3 months. My wife and I have been coming here as patients. We just found out we're having a child. Do you think it might be related? It's like, it doesn't get much bigger than that. And you deserve to be really, really well paid for that. Because you're at the top of the game,
Well, and now you have one of the purposes that I'm grateful that you're on here is I definitely feel driven and responsible to make a contribution to talk about the Wave and that event, that annual event that you guys put on that's now drawing hundreds and hundreds. I mean, I believe you're probably over 1,000 people.
Yeah, the lowest rate is 1,000, but typically we're between 1,300 and 1,500. And they come from all over the world. From as far away as France and Germany and down in Australia.
Yeah, it's such a phenomenal event. If you could just say a few words about what's coming up and how people can get involved with that.
Thank you. So what we did, this will be our 6th Wave. It's a 2-day chiropractic experience. And so we wanted to take it from just, talking heads to something a little bit different. We also wanted to create a program which was the science, art, philosophy of chiropractic and the world we live in. And then, of course, our future. And so we bring in people who aren't chiropractors but are doing incredible things in the world that we want to introduce chiropractic to or have a compelling message about the world we live in. So as well as the great chiropractic speakers and great philosophers, we have some other pieces as well. And one of our keynotes this year is a guy called Mitch Albom, who wrote the book Tuesdays with Maury, which has sold like 35 million copies. And you go, so what? Well, the so what is he interviewed a guy dying at the end of his life and wrote a book about it. It's like, what's your why? So that's why he's one of our speakers. We're bringing a guy called Daniel Amen, MD, who does some really sort of out there stuff about the brain and brain trauma and brain function. We've got Todd Waters coming back doing a whole thing on chiropractic history, and we're building a chiropractic museum which opens in a year's time. There's a woman called Suzanne Humphreys. She's amazing. She just wrote this book, co-wrote a book, 500 pages about the history of vaccination. But she was a nephrologist working in the hospital system, and one of those sort of annual Asian flus came through. And before it did, they were vaccinating people, and she was working in the renal area, and people coming in with really, really serious kidney issues. And she started looking at their case histories and realizing they'd had this vaccine for this flu that never really happened. And she started investigating it and then researching it and realized people were not only getting chronic kidney diseases from the vaccine, but they were dying. And so she's now sort of done 180 degrees and realized that, this is an assault against biology. So she's coming in as one of our keynotes. And we've got some amazing entertainment. We've got a band on the Friday night, and we're doing a talent show with students from all over the world, the Chiropractic Talent Show. But it's really a concept where you can bring your team and have an experience that's above the adjusting table. And so that's why in years gone by we had people like Erin Brockovich and Patch Adams. And I got an email the other day from one of our speakers a couple of years ago. He did a thing on the Fukushima nuclear accident. And I remember people criticizing us, saying, what the heck's that got to do with chiropractic? And he was talking about the change in the Pacific fish supply, the radiation levels and, you know, the mercury and stuff, and how that was impacting the food you buy at Whole Foods. So about 2 weeks ago, he's in Japan. He's in downtown Tokyo, and he's got his Geiger counter thing there, and he sends me this image, and he goes, I've just done a reading of downtown Tokyo, and he goes, they got the Olympics coming up soon. And he goes, this is really not good. And so, you know, we can be as unsubluxated as possible, but if we're living in a dying planet, then maybe here's the whole point. Our patients are into this concept of holism as well. You know, they think about it, they talk about it, it's driving their DNA of choices of lifestyle, the cars they drive, the energy they use, solar, you know. And in chiropractic, we don't really talk about sustainability. So that's kind of a thread throughout the WAVE conference. So coming up on August the 5th and 6th, I think early registration closes at the end of the week. We'd love people to come and bring their staff. And there's a chiropractor friend of mine, I've become friends, from Reno, Nevada, a guy called Cliff Fisher. He brings his whole staff. He's got 10 staff. They've come every year to the WAVE. And, you know, we'd love people to come and get dipped.
Well, excuse me. I know as a coach and giving seminars that you have to have that immersion experience. You need to take your team, you need to take them out of your office, change geography, get them into a new setting, because that opens up their creativity.
Right.
When you see world-class speakers, like just the few that you name, that's not even the chiropractic leaders.
Yeah.
Probably have at least 20 or something. I know the list. Got major chiropractic leaders, and you get their mindset. I mean, if you just took one thing, one thought from every leader, you come back a different person.
Right. I mean, we've recently brought Bruce Lipton back to the campus, and he teaches a class called The Science of Vitalism. And I think he's spoken at the WAVE a couple of times, and Bruce is going to be there. I would come just to hear Bruce Lipton, you know. So we're blessed. We're blessed.
Well, how do people get tickets? I mean, let them know where to go and get them today.
They better be quick because it will sell out. But the website is lifewestwave.com, and you know, we'd love them to be part of it. I know you've been. It's a knockout event. We spend a lot of money and energy on the production side, so people have a great experience, and they will this time. There's no doubt about it. Nice.
Well, so just going back to you again, I mean, you created a phenomenal event. It's, you know, the thing's filling up every year, is growing and growing. So that says a lot about the experience. Now more and more people want to go. So just as the leader, what's your vision for the future, Life West or yourself?
So I think you answered it earlier on. We really feel a sense of responsibility, not only to the people who passed us the torch, but really to humanity. And that's why the vision of the school, not the mission, but the vision of the school is to create a brighter future for humanity. So our goal is to outgrow the campus. You know, we're at 600-700 students, 1,100 is the capacity. Our goal is 2,000 chiropractic students. And we're very, very close in the next few months to getting a new accreditation. That'll give us different opportunities. And one of them is the opportunity to become the profession's first chiropractic university. And we could have master's programs in chiropractic pediatrics, chiropractic philosophy, chiropractic neurology, chiropractic geriatrics, chiropractic sports, a research track in chiropractic, and then an undergrad program that would feed the DC program. That's where we're going. And the fastest way we can get there is by people sending students and supporting us financially. But there's no intention to become a health science university. It's to become the profession's truly chiropractic, would be the something chiropractic university. And that's where we're going.
Nice. That's awesome. A way to be at the tip of the spear. So any final remarks or any thought you want to leave these people with?
Well, I'd just like to say people often leave chiropractic school and they leave it behind. They go, hey, that was my good times and my bad times. And they look forward to family and career, and that's all good. But great professions have great institutions. And in chiropractic, we don't have enough great institutions. And part of it's to do with scale. Most schools are too small. And so I think we have a responsibility to send people to chiropractic college, whatever college that is on your radar, and to give back to chiropractic colleges so we can grow and prosper and be stronger for the profession and for humanity. And that's, my light's just gone out. That's why we're here, and we imagine chiropractic fulfilling its potential. Well, that'll happen if people gave back at 10%. And there's a chiropractor, he sent 158 people to chiropractic school. And on his 7th visit, he'd say to his patients, have you ever thought about being a chiropractor? And the 75-year-old grandmother would say, no, not really, but I've got a grandson. And all it takes is asking, and, we can get to this place we want to go. Not for us, it's for the community and society and humanity, which needs our message more now than ever. And I don't see that happening through any other profession or any other lens than through the chiropractic paradigm.
Well, and I think, as you're talking, I'm thinking, we don't build this for us. We build them for the next generation, right? I mean, the thing is, we want to see it in our lifetime. And I think, that's what really creates people that make big things happen, like yourself now. It's like, we want to see, we're definitely creating it for the people that succeed us, but I want to see it in my lifetime, right? Our spirit came into this body. I want to see some things happen right now. So how can people donate to Life West?
Well, it's funny you say that, because it could happen in about 7 years. I mean, the number one way to donate is to send students. And if you adopted that strategy we mentioned a moment ago, every chiropractor could send probably conservatively about 5 people to chiropractic school a year. So do the math on that, and that's all of a sudden it's going to explode. And that just takes the conversation and a system. You really need a system. The other one is we can come out to your community and do it for you. So we have a champions program, which is for chiropractors who want to be part of our tribe, and we'll teach them how to do that. The other contra to that, or the corollary to that, is a program called the Student Champions, where a chiropractor can send someone to the school 4 times a year, and we have a 3-day weekend or a 2-day weekend where we look after them, we inspire them, and 70% of people who come to a Champions Weekend say, I want to be a chiropractor, I want to go to Life West. Nice. So they can look it up on the website. And the second one is most chiropractic colleges are tuition dependent. Well, guess what? Harvard is not tuition dependent. That's why they can give scholarships and housing scholarships and living scholarships, because their endowment is, 20 billion or something. So for us to grow to the next level and even contemplate a new campus and contemplate being the best of the best, it takes more than tuition dollars. So a chiropractor can say, you know what, I'm going to leave a legacy gift in my will, and when we move on, we're going to leave something. That's awesome. It could be 5% of their estate. It could be 25% of their estate. They could think about that now and do that now, and in years to come, that would be, their legacy gift. Or they could say, I'm going to contribute time, and it could be 5 minutes a week or 10 minutes a week. Convert that into the number of patients, and that's your gift. So it could be on Monday morning, my first patient's going to chiropractic college, chiropractic education. Or it could be my first 5 patients on a Monday morning are going to chiropractic college to support chiropractic education and research. And if they'd thought about it in those terms, you're really paying it forward, and we could move the needle. And as I said, 7 years would have come a long way.
Yeah, it would. Well, I think that's also great. Something as easy as what you said, that guy said 158, he just said, have you ever thought about chiropractic? I mean, how easy is that?
Right.
And then if you align, I think one of the reasons that makes you so strong, your school so strong, is your core values are so clear. So I think you guys, whoever's listening to this, because I know there's thousands of people out here in chiropractic that listen to this, that, understand what the core values of Life West are. And if they align, then send them. And that's one question. Even if you said once a week on Monday mornings, I'm just going to ask this question for the next 4 hours.
Right. And
then maybe on a Monday afternoon the next week.
Or you could have your staff do it. I mean, there's ways of leveraging it.
Yeah.
We just produced a book a couple of years ago by Bill Ruck. It's a pathophysiology book, and it's called The Atlas of Common Subluxations of the Human Spine and Pelvis. Some people may remember it from 15 years ago, but it went out of print. He went into the anatomy lab, took x-rays, then sectioned these cadavers, and wanted to know what long-term spinal subluxation degeneration did to the spine. They're the kind of things that we stand for at Life West. We produced that textbook. It's available on Amazon or from our bookstore. Not that expensive. And it's a statement. It's a statement saying subluxation is important, subluxation is serious, and subluxation is scientific. And at a time when people are taking subluxation out of scopes of practice and out of the lexicon and out of the teaching, we've got to move towards it, because as we said at the front end of this discussion, the identification of the subluxation and adjusting it, that's our differential, that with our philosophy. And if you lose that, we're just PTs in drag,
Yeah, that sucks. Well, cool. You know, I just want to thank you for taking your time. Your message is compelling. Your message is compelling because you're compelling as a person. So, number one, thank you for your contribution because you are moving the needle. You've been moving the needle for a long time, and just thankful for, like you said, probably the most rewarding things. How many people your efforts have brought into chiropractic. So thank you for all you do. And we'll send you this link if you want to send it out. And here in a second, I would love to have you speak at a lead coaching seminar. So after this, I'll tell you about that and see how we can help you in Life West.
Would love to. Thanks, Dr. Fred.
Yep, thanks again. Hang on a second.